million and the star of the headline show in Las Vegas.
I would have to say it's usually the letters P, B, and M.
So much fun performing with Terry and talking to Jeff. And
the winner of the one...
Imagine spending over 50 years of your life loving someone so deeply that their pain becomes your pain, their fight becomes your fight, and their story becomes impossible to separate from your own. Now imagine watching that person, the one who has been your whole world, slowly lose the life that once made him a legend. That is exactly what Sharon Osbourne is living through right now. And for the first time in a long time, she is not hiding it. She is not putting on the strong face she is famous for. She is letting the world see the truth, and the truth is heartbreaking. This is the story of Sharon Osbourne saying goodbye. Not just to a chapter of her life, but to the version of everything she has ever known. And if you think you already know this story, I promise you, you do not know all of it. Let's start from the beginning, because to understand what is happening right now, you have to understand where it all came from. Sharon Osbourne did not have an easy start in life. She was born in London in 1952, and her father was Don Arden, one of the most powerful and feared men in the music business. He managed big acts, he made serious money, and he ruled his household the same way he ruled the industry, with an iron fist and very little softness. Growing up in that world meant Sharon learned early how to survive around difficult people. She learned how to read a room, how to hold her ground, and how to fight for what she wanted even when everything around her was chaos. When she was a teenager, she started working in her father's company. That is where she first crossed paths with Ozzy Osbourne, the wild and unpredictable frontman of Black Sabbath. Ozzy was everything Don Arden did not want his daughter near. He was loud, he was reckless, and he had a habit of doing things that made grown adults want to look away. But Sharon did not look away. She looked straight at him, and she saw something that most people missed. She saw someone who needed to be believed in. And she decided she was going to be the one to do that. They fell in love, though it was messy and complicated from the start. Sharon eventually became Ozzy's manager, which meant she was not just the woman he loved, she was also the person responsible for keeping his career alive. That is a complicated thing to carry in any relationship. She worked harder than almost anyone in that business, and she turned Ozzy's solo career into something massive at a time when most people had already written him off. She fought for him when the whole industry said he was finished. She bet on him when betting on him looked like a losing hand. And she won. They got married in 1982, and together they built a family. 3 children, Amy, Kelly, and Jack. Life was never quiet. Ozzy's struggles with addiction were real and serious, and there were moments where everything nearly fell apart. There were separations, there were dark seasons. There were times when Sharon herself has said she did not know how much more she could take. But they always came back to each other. That is the part that never changed. No matter how hard things got, they kept finding their way back. Then came the moment that introduced this family to a completely new generation of people. In 2002, MTV launched a reality show called The Osbournes, which followed Sharon, Ozzy, Kelly, and Jack as they navigated everyday family life in their Beverly Hills home. It sounds simple, but it was absolutely wild. Ozzy shuffling around in a daze, Sharon handling every crisis with her signature mix of love and fury, the kids being exactly the kind of teenagers you would expect from that household. The show became one of the biggest things on television. People could not stop watching. It was funny and chaotic and surprisingly tender all at once. Sharon became a star in her own right through that show. People had always known her as Ozzy's wife and manager, but now they saw her as Sharon. The woman who could curse out a neighbor and then turn around and make you cry with how much she clearly loved her family. She was real in a way that felt rare on television. She did not pretend everything was fine when it was not. She said exactly what she felt every single time, and the world fell in love with her for it. After the Osbournes, Sharon kept building her own presence in the entertainment world. She became a judge and mentor on The X Factor in the UK, where she was famous for being both brutally honest and deeply loyal to the artist she believed in. She joined The Talk on CBS, where for years she sat at that table and shared her opinions on everything from pop culture to personal struggles. She had a massive fan base, her own voice, her own lane. She had become so much more than just a famous person's wife. But through all of it, Ozzy was always the center. He kept touring, kept recording, kept being the Prince of Darkness that his fans had loved for decades. Even into his 70s, the man had an energy on stage that made you forget how many years had gone by. That was the image. That was the Ozzy people held on to. And then things started to change in ways that could not be ignored. In 2003, Sharon received the news that no one ever wants to hear. She was diagnosed with colon cancer. It was a serious diagnosis, and she went through surgery and chemotherapy and came out the other side with remarkable strength. She talked about it openly, and she used her platform to encourage other women to get checked, to not ignore their bodies, to face scary things head-on. She survived, and she did it with a kind of fierce grace that made people admire her even more. But health battles have a way of continuing even after you think they are over. In recent years, Sharon has spoken about a range of health challenges that she has faced, including dramatic weight loss connected to medication she was taking, and serious emotional and mental health struggles that she has not shied away from discussing. She has always believed in being honest about the hard parts of life, even when the hard parts are deeply personal. And then there is Ozzy. Ozzy Osbourne's health story over the last several years has been one of the most painful public journeys anyone could witness. In 2019, he revealed something that shocked his fans around the world. He had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's is a condition that affects the nervous system, causing tremors, stiffness, and over time, serious difficulty with movement and daily life. There is no cure. There is only management, and even the best management cannot stop the disease from progressing. For a man who spent his entire life on stage, moving through the crowd's energy, commanding arenas with his presence, the idea of losing control of his own body was devastating. Ozzy has always been someone who expressed himself physically, someone who lived loudly and largely. Parkinson's was asking him to live smaller, and that is a cruelty that is hard to put into words. But the Parkinson's diagnosis was not the only thing Ozzy was fighting. Around the same time, he was also dealing with the aftermath of a serious fall he had suffered at his home. The fall caused significant damage to his spine, and the recovery was long and brutal. He went through multiple surgeries. There were complications. There were moments when it was genuinely unclear how much physical capacity he would regain. He has described being in pain that most people cannot imagine, and doing it all while also managing a progressive neurological disease. Sharon was there through every single moment of it. She traveled with him to different countries seeking treatment. She rearranged her entire life around his care. She stepped back from things she had built for herself because being present for Ozzy was more important. That is the kind of love that does not need a big speech to be understood. It shows up in the years of quiet sacrifice, in the appointments and the hospital rooms and the long nights wondering what comes next. There was a period where it looked like things might stabilize. Ozzy was still talking about wanting to perform again, still talking about getting back on stage. The fans held on to that hope with him because letting go of Ozzy Osbourne on stage feels like letting go of something irreplaceable. His final album, Patient No. 9, came out in 2022, and it was stunning. It reminded everyone that even through everything he had endured, the music in him was still alive and still powerful. Collaborators like Tony Iommi, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, and so many others came together on that record in a way that felt like a tribute and a celebration all at once. And then came the announcement that truly marked a turning point. In 2023, Sharon and Ozzy made the decision to leave Los Angeles, the city that had been their home for decades, and move back to England. Sharon talked about this in interviews, and what she said was clear and quiet and deeply honest. She said they were going home. She talked about wanting to be on English soil, about wanting to be somewhere familiar, somewhere that felt like where they had started. When someone who has spent decades in one place decides it is time to go back to the beginning, you understand that they are preparing for something. They are not running toward a new adventure. They are settling into what they know and love before the road gets harder. Sharon also became increasingly open about the emotional weight of watching Oz's decline. She has spoken in interviews about how difficult it is to see the man she loves struggling. She has talked about the grief that comes with watching someone change, about holding on to the person they were while also accepting the person they are becoming. That kind of grief is complicated because the person is still there, still present, still alive, but something is shifting, and you cannot stop it. You can only love them through it. In 2024 and into 2025, Oz's health continued to be a serious concern. He has required ongoing care and has not been able to return to touring in any capacity. The dreams of one final tour, one final goodbye to the fans, have remained just out of reach. Sharon has been honest about this too. She has acknowledged that the chapter of Ozzy Osbourne performing live may truly be behind them, and that saying that out loud is one of the hardest things she has ever had to do. For the fans, this has been a long and emotional process. Ozzy Osbourne is not just a rock star to the people who love him. He is a symbol of something wild and free and boundary-breaking. He is proof that you do not have to fit a mold, that you can be strange and loud and difficult and still be loved deeply and widely. Watching him deal with illness, watching his health decline across years of difficult news, has felt personal to millions of people in a way that celebrity news rarely does. And Sharon standing beside him through all of it has added a layer to their story that goes beyond anything they ever put on television. This is real life. This is two people who have been through everything together, staying together in the hardest season of all. Sharon has also spoken about her own mortality during this period. She has talked about thinking about the future, about what comes next, not just for Ozzy but for herself. She has reflected on what she wants the rest of her life to look like, what matters most, what she would do differently. There is a kind of courage in that kind of honesty. It is so much easier to keep the camera pointed outward, to keep talking about other people and other things. What Sharon has done is turn it around and say, here's what I'm actually going through. Here is what it actually feels like. Her public career has also seen significant changes during this time. Her exit from the talk in 2021 came after a painful and public controversy around a conversation about race that did not go well, and Sharon has spoken at length about how that experience affected her, about the fallout, the friendships that changed, the isolation she felt in the aftermath. She has been critical of how she was treated, and she has also done a lot of reflecting about what she said and how it landed. It was a complicated and messy moment, and she has not pretended it was simple. She joined the cast of the Talk UK for a period, and she has continued to be a presence in British entertainment, giving interviews and appearing on various programmes. But her focus has clearly shifted. When your husband needs you, and when you are also grappling with your own questions about identity and purpose and what comes next, the bright lights of show business start to feel like a different kind of priority. Sharon has spoken about the idea of stepping back, of choosing quiet over noise, of being present in her life in a way that her career did not always allow. She raised her children in the middle of a hurricane of fame and chaos, and she has said many times that while she is proud of what she built, she is also aware of what that life cost. She is at a point now where she wants to choose differently, where she wants simplicity and peace and the people she loves most close to her. That includes not just Ozzy but her children, who have all grown into remarkable adults in their own ways. Kelly has been open about her own journey, her health, her sobriety, her life as a mother. Jack has dealt with a multiple sclerosis diagnosis with extraordinary courage and continues to be a source of pride for his family. Amy, who famously chose not to appear on the Osbournes reality show because she valued her privacy, has built a career in music and has stayed true to who she is through all of it. Sharon talks about her children with a kind of love that is fierce and complete. They are her greatest achievement, she has said. Not the shows, not the tours, not the deals. Her kids. And so here we are. Sharon Osbourne, at 71 years old, is navigating one of the most emotionally complex periods of her entire life. She is watching the man she has loved since she was a teenager face health challenges that are serious and ongoing. She is reflecting on a career that has been enormous and complicated and full of both incredible highs and very real lows. She is thinking about what her future looks like, what she wants to hold on to and what she is ready to let go. When she says goodbye to certain things, she is not giving up. She is not falling apart. She is doing what she has always done, which is face the truth of her situation and make choices based on what actually matters. The difference now is that what matters most is smaller and more personal than it has ever been. It is Oz's hand in hers. It is her children's voices on the phone. It is the quiet of a home in England after a lifetime of noise. There is something deeply moving about a woman who once ruled rooms, who fought battles in boardrooms and on television screens and across decades of an industry that tried to underestimate her, choosing to spend this season of her life in the quiet. It does not feel like defeat. It feels like someone who has earned the right to put down some of the weight and just be present with the people she loves. The story of Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne is not a tragedy, even though it has tragic elements. It is a love story. A messy, loud, complicated, imperfect, and absolutely real love story. It is about two people who found each other against all the odds, built something incredible together, broke each other's hearts and put them back together again, and are now walking through the hardest part of the road side by side. That is not a sad ending. That is one of the most human things there is. Sharon has given a lot of herself to the world over the decades. She has made people laugh, she has made them think, she has made them angry, she has made them cry. She has been raw and real in a world that rewards polished and perfect. And in this final chapter of a remarkable story, she is still doing the same thing. She is still telling the truth. She is still choosing love. She is still showing up. And maybe that is the most powerful thing of all. If this story touched you the way it touched me, please give this video a thumbs up right now. It truly helps more people find this content and hear stories that actually matter. And if you have someone in your life you love deeply, someone you would walk through the hard seasons for, share this video with them today. Not because it is easy to watch, but because it is a reminder of what real love actually looks like. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already, because we tell stories here that go beneath the surface, stories about real people living real lives, and there is so much more coming. Hit the bell so you never miss one. Thank you so much for being here and for giving your time to this story. It means everything.